in competition with a new nose on the car, but well behind. He dropped from 11th to 29th place on the stop, and the yellow flag's being displayed all around the course, which means a full course yellow. Gordon Johncock is the driver of the pace car. He will come out on the course. They'll slow the field down. No passing at this moment. And they'll then try and get Adrian Fernandez's car off of the race course and make sure that he's well. Here's the start of the race as we take a look at Paul Tracy as they came past the first corner. He dropped the left rear off and almost got totally sideways.
Yeah, that was turn 3, exiting onto the first of the back straights here. Tracy used every piece of talent he had to drag that car back on, and Mansell wasn't able to accelerate and get a good run on him because Tracy ducked back on to the racing line again.
Roberto Guerrero's repair for the nose took 1 minute and 3 seconds before he headed back into the competition. 5 laps of 50 are complete at Road America. Back at Road America, as the cars circulate into the full course yellow. Sunday Night Baseball continues tonight, 8 p.m. The Chicago Cubs host the Atlanta Braves, and John Smoltz will be on the mound versus Jose Guzman as the Sunday Night Baseball continues. So we're under full course yellow. The reason is heavy impact with the barrier down on the backside of the race course as Adrian Fernandez got into the wall. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, some interesting strategy from the Penske camp. Roger Penske in Germany much of this weekend, just arrived here this morning. He's on the wall calling the signals as usual for Paul Tracy. They've elected to make Tracy a bit of a rabbit because they're so optimistic about the fuel mileage they've been getting in the practice sessions and in the early stages of this race. They want to see if he can set a furious pace, if Mansell will bite and go with it, because the Penske camp with the Chevy power thinks that they get better mileage than the Ford Cosworth. That, of course, will shake out through the afternoon. Also interesting, Tracy very good on the throttle. They know that he gets good fuel mileage traditionally. Emerson Fittipaldi, his teammate, perhaps a little heavier on and off the throttle. They started out in a more conservative mode, but now with this yellow, they're going to go to the same boost settings that Tracy has. Be interesting to keep an eye on those two cars from the Penske camp. Now let's go to the Newman Haas camp in Jan Beekes.
Well, Gary, that's one of the first things we checked into. We asked here at Newman Haas and we said, is Nigel Mansell biting? In other words, is he going to go with the rabbit? And they said, no, we know what Tracy is up to. He's trying to draw us off of our fuel numbers. What that means is that they are watching the telemetry, they're watching the computers, they're only letting Nigel go as fast as those computer numbers will allow them. He wants to go race with Tracy, but they know what Tracy's up to and the strategy of Penske to try and pull him off those fuel numbers.
And one would presume with this full course yellow that any problem with making this a two-stop race is probably going away.
That's it. Throw it all out the window now. The longer that it takes to clear up Adrian Fernandez's crash car and clean up the scene. And here's a replay. Watch the violent impact you see here. Look at the impact. Remember, they go through the kink at 175 miles an hour. And watch how hard he hits that outside barrier. That, of course, is some of the unloved Armco barrier. A lot of that has been replaced here at Road America with the concrete barriers, but that did hold up quite well to that impact by Fernandez.
Our best report is that Adrian Fernandez is out of the car, being examined by the medical people. Got out under his own power, though. We'll give you a continual update on his situation. The display of smoke and vapor is at the back of Danny Sullivan's car, which has moved from an irritant to under slow speeds appears to be somewhat terminal.
Danny, you can order an early flight right now, because with that amount of smoke coming out of the back of that car, you're not going to go very far.
Even if you could get it into the pits, they can't put any more oil in the car than they leave at the start of the day. This is Adrian Fernandez's car. Take a look at the nose on that car. This very much similar to the damage that occurred on Paul Tracy's car on Friday. So the design of the footbox in this car making a world of difference. We're continuing to wait now for official word from the IndyCar safety team as to the condition of Adrian Fernandez and whether or not he sustained any injuries in that accident. Look at Danny Sullivan again. You have a mosquito problem in this area. It's probably gone now with all the lakes around there on Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
Willie T is following Danny Sullivan in that line under yellow here. So I bet he's beginning to cough and water in his eyes. Yeah.
And then Danny moves over and Willie comes over to the other side. The governor of Wisconsin, Tommy Thompson's a great racing fan. It seems anytime there's any kind of racing event, he is here. He is here today. Even in the middle of winter, he's up watching the snowmobile races. So they're helping out with the mosquito control for the governor.
Danny Sullivan had his annual golf tournament in Aspen last week, and believe it or not, somebody paid $51,000 to play with Greg Norman, one of Danny's pro celebrities that he had in his golf tournament. Raised a tremendous amount of money for a charity.
You know who can afford that now? Bobby Unser. $100,000 richer in the Fast Masters last night.
Well, we'll never hear the end of it.
Well, but maybe he's got so much money he doesn't have to work on television for a while now. What do you think? All right, so the field is under a full course yellow. And this is the actual second full course yellow. They took yellow at the green because the starter disallowed the start, but they count that first lap. And then when Adrian Fernandez got into the barrier, they wanted to go yellow once again, and they are. Danny Sullivan continues to be an emission control problem at Road America, though he stays out and continues to circulate, hoping that they'll get back to racing speed where the problem doesn't seem nearly as prominent. Full course yellow. They should be going back to the green flag as to the top of the field. Paul Tracy is the leader of the race, followed by Nigel Mansell, Mario Andretti, then Robbie Gordon. Raul Boisel pulled out of the line, came into the pits. They changed some tires and refueled the car. Perhaps we can get an update on that situation here shortly, but first, for an update on Adrian Fernandez, here's Gary.
At the IndyCar Medical Center, we are told that Adrian was able to walk from the emergency vehicle into the coach under his own power. Dr. Jay Phelan is in there with him now. They say it'll probably be 15 or 20 minutes as they continue to monitor him. Apparently not a serious injury. We're happy to report is just a little wobbly after a high-speed impact in that treacherous part of the race course. But an optimistic early report. We'll hope to have a confirmation in maybe 20 minutes or so.
Well, we'll continue to wait for that, but I'm glad that the situation appears to be all right as of this moment. We'll wait for a more detailed explanation. Danny Sullivan still displaying smoke at the back of his car as they're down on the backside of the race course. The lights, yellow flashing lights, are turned off. Driven by Gordon Johncock, a former great IndyCar champion here. So that will bring them up the hill, and Paul Tracy will be the first to see a green flag and will be back to racing speed at the beginning of lap number 10. 50 lap distance here, 200 miles.
Paul Tracy driving here with his right ankle very heavily taped. The impact was so violent he actually almost dislocated his ankle, stretched the ligaments on the outside, and it is very heavily taped, which gives him a lot of trouble when he tries to heel toe on his downshifting.
I was sitting behind him in the drivers' meeting today, and he was rocking his head back and forth constantly, trying to get some of the pain out of those neck muscles. He climbs the hill now. Tracy almost totally alone as he sees the green flag. Gets a good jump on the rest of the field. He's chased by Mansell. Roberto Guerrero in the red car is not a factor here. He is down a lap to the rest of the field, but the field has to deal with him. Mansell chases him, then Andretti chases Mansell. Now Robbie Gordon has to deal with the somewhat slower car of Roberto Guerrero. A look back from Mansell. Here they come off the corner now. Tracy uses every inch of the race course. The two Newman Haas cars chasing the Penske of Paul Tracy.
And that's Lyondike pulls out a line to get by Guerrero. There's nothing Guerrero can do. He really has to move aside and let those leaders by, but puts himself further and further behind. Look at Robbie Gordon.
Robbie Gordon comes in to challenge Andretti, while at the same time Fittipaldi was challenging Lyondike. Gordon off the course again. It gives the position back to Andretti. Second time off the course today for Gordon. Now he's right back at Andretti.
Experienced in off-track racing, so he spends lots of time on the grass and on the dirt. But on IndyCars, you got to keep those four black patches on the road. But Gordon, ever spectacular, but he just went in too deep under the brake. Look at the cue behind, though. Rahal goes inside Guerrero.
Arie Luyendyk pulls up right behind Gordon, as does Fittipaldi. Bobby Rahal came alongside a slower car, appeared to be Guerrero, so he could get a good run into the carousel in a critical section of the race course. There is Rahal as he makes that turn into the corner, and once again a wheel dropped off. Here comes Gordon running through.
Now, that wasn't Gordon that time. That was one of the Newman Haas cars. Mansell or Andretti stuck a wheel off the track onto that dirt.
Let's get an update on Robbie Gordon's engine. Here's Jan Beekes.
Well, when we see Robbie Gordon chasing Mario Andretti, what you have to keep in mind is, yes, they're both Ford power plants, and we know that Robbie Gordon is Ford's favorite son, but he doesn't have the latest updates that Mario, Nigel, and Ari Leyendijk have, which are some new camshafts that reportedly make 40 more horsepower at the top end and 12 more horsepower everywhere else. So Robbie Gordon, the top man as far as Ford is concerned, as far as Ford's future, but a lot of the other Ford teams, Paul, will not have these new camshafts until later on. But right now, obviously, he's able to hang on to Mario Andretti.
40 horsepower off camshafts. That would seem to be a remarkable figure.
Well, it's actually a combination of the induction, the plenum, the induction manifold, and now the latest camshafts. I don't know whether it's 40, but it's certainly a lot more horsepower than they started the season with.
Common knowledge would suggest to you that 3 horsepower could mean a mile an hour down a long straightaway.
Now watch what happens here. He's actually a car length behind Mario when he makes the charge. Now right here he probably realizes he's in trouble. Now watch what Mario does. He sees him go off the road, and now he takes avoiding action. Look at Mario, turns left, says don't hit me, and just snatches that position back again.
We mentioned that during the yellow, Raul Boisel headed into the pits, did some tire changing, refueling, and headed out. Gary Gerald, what was that all about?
Paul, it was a matter of miscommunication. At the point where Boisel was on the racetrack, he didn't get a clear radio contact with the pit. They told him to stay out. He thought it meant come in. He came in. They had planned a 2 full stop and a splash at the end for fuel. Now they get their splash early. They've still got 2 full stops more than likely ahead of them in this race. So just a little miscommunication on a radio glitch.
You saw there the tire tracks of Adrian Fernandez, that he never actually got to the curb before he lost control and shot off the road.
Raul Boisel works his way up through the field now as he comes around Mike Grob. He fell back to 19th place in passing Grob. He's now moved into 15th as Stefan Johansson comes off the course.
The continuance of a terrible weekend for Stefan Johansson. This car did not handle well from the time they unloaded it from the truck. Then he changed to another car and they could still not get the thing to go any faster. So now he's out. Just a terrible weekend to forget for Stefan Johansson.
For a moment, they, at least during the practice, thought that they had the problem licked, and then it came right back to bite them. Johansson jumped up in the order, but now he's off the course and apparently out of the battle. So we go back and take a look at Robbie Gordon now as he continues his fight up through the field, chasing Andretti, but chasing him, of course, is Ari Leyendijk. Emerson Fittipaldi is just behind Leyendijk, all of them in attack position.
Ari Leyendijk running better than he has of late, has lots of trouble trying to get the handling of this car sorted out. For this weekend, they moved Leyendijk's cars onto the new Penske shock absorbers. He liked them, he could sort the car out, he could handle it better, and that's what they decided to race on. So Penske shock absorbers on Leyendijk's Lola.
Leyendijk's progress through this field as he has come up from 11th to 5th and is now battling with the leaders of the race, and Fittipaldi is right there fighting as well through the gravel pit heading down to the kink. They're going to get Stefan Johansson off the course by sending just